Hi, welcome back to class, and we are on Module 11, so we're winding down to the last 5 weeks or so of the semester. And so this week we are actually going to look at white ethnic Americans, and so this is a section of the book that is actually pretty interesting because a lot of people, when they think of race and ethnic studies, they think of more recent immigrant groups or Native Americans and Hispanic Americans, and but if you look at race and ethnic studies programs across the country, you may be surprised to find that in places like San Francisco State, you would find a degree in Italian American Studies and Jewish Studies, and so this is an area that has a lot of research in it, actually, because of the timing of the immigrant groups that came into the country. So if you look back and you look at places like Hull House, where they started doing quantitative research with sociology, the neighborhoods surrounding the University of Chicago had a lot of immigrants from Italy and Poland, and what they did was they collected quite a bit of data on those people and were able to compile some very good ethnographies on the neighborhoods surrounding Hull House. And from there's been a lot of great research and case studies that are used in race and ethnic studies. Also, there's a comparison to make with different degrees of how long it takes for groups to possibly assimilate into American culture. And so if you take a group like Italian Americans, you can clearly see that, starting around the late 1800s, a lot of Italian Americans came to America through the 1920s, and then it really tapered off. In that time frame, you have certain things that it can explain a lot of immigration patterns. So you'll have a lot of people who were here to make money and then go back to Italy, but there's also people who decide to stick around and set roots up in this country. And then we can look at each generation following the initial people who came over, and you can see how intermarriage took place and when the people stopped speaking Italian as a primary language in the house and started moving towards speaking English, and look at things like upward mobility and have some interesting comparisons. One thing that is useful to point out when looking at different ethnic groups for comparative analysis is looking at the idea of the master status, and so that's something that is discussed in sociology as well. And that's basically, what do people initially see when you walk in? What's the main thing that sticks out about you? A lot of ethnic studies people will point out that white ethnic Americans have a very easy time being able to just fit in, and if they want to assimilate faster, it could be a tool that's used to help them assimilate. But every group has different hurdles and different advantages when they come over, and so this gets to be discussed and be a point of comparison. So this week we're actually going to look at a few different groups of people. I have videos that one of them goes way back, looking at the Scotch-Irish, who actually settled in the Appalachian Mountains and were an early ethnic group in the country and have been around for quite a while. And we're going to watch a video to see how they ended up taking in some of the ideas around them. So if you look at integration, that is a two-way street, so when people come over, they do pick up traits of the country they immigrate into, but they also bring some of their culture with them. So this video will let you explore how that happens both ways And then we're going to watch a video on Arthur Avenue, which is a neighborhood in the North Bronx. And it's actually the next neighborhood over from where my parents and my grandparents live. And so it's a place where when I go back to New York, I spend a lot of time because there's really good food there. But Little Italy in the Bronx is what it's called. It's become a real interesting shopping district. A few movies have been filmed there over the years. And but you get to look at how some places actually held on to some of their culture. And so with this video, I want you to really pay attention to the idea of cooperation. So when the Italian Americans came over, they were seen as a white ethnic group, and they did face some discrimination, and they decided oftentimes to unite together and work together to overcome adversity. And so this video still highlights this. It's something that's still alive and well in this particular neighborhood. So you're going to watch that, and you're going to describe how you think that might compare to other parts of the country. And so you'll have 2 posts on that. There's also a video that we're going to watch and do a Dropbox assignment on integrating immigrants. And so this is with Mary Waters, and she just got through with a National Institute of Science research study. This is right before, right around the time that Trump took office. So it's about 2 years ago. And she's actually discussing some of her findings on immigrating immigrants. So this study took place for a couple years, and in that she actually gets a little she goes into discussing the slightly a comparison of white ethnic immigrants. You're going to have to watch it and pay attention, so take notes, because I want you to actually point out a couple of her comparisons to early white ethnic immigrants. And then she also compares the experience of ethnic Americans, so our identity in America once we come over, with other parts of the world. So she gets a little comparative with this. So she compares our country with other places. So I want you to briefly describe that as well. So what you're going to do when you're watching her video, you're going to discuss some of the key points that stick out to you of her research. But then again, I also want you to discuss some comparisons with earlier white ethnic immigrants. And then you're going to compare us and see how we stack up to the rest of the world. This week is actually fairly easy. This is about a half-hour video. And then when we get to discussions, we have about another half-hour video on looking at Scotch-Irish. And then here's our video on Arthur Avenue. And, like I said, take some notes on it. What we're going to do is this week we're focusing on white ethnic experiences, and then the following week we're going to look at Jewish Americans, and then our last week we're going to be looking at Arab Americans, and that's going to be the last week of looking at particular groups. But I'm also going to have another assignment that kind of stitches over with this, and that's looking at intersectionality. I was going to add that last week, but I decided to hold off until this week, and then this will be, I'll probably have this up in the middle week or towards the end of the week. It's going to stitch together, so following Module 11, I'm going to have it down here, and it'll be something we go back to throughout the semester. So I'm going to have a couple of initial videos that are going to be a refresher on intersectionality. It's actually things I use in my Intro to Soc class, but there's some great videos. And then I'm going to, once we do an initial assignment in that, we're going to have a follow-up assignment where we're going to analyze a couple other interviews, just to hammer home this idea of intersectionality. I think it's just a really good point to hit on with this class. In prior semesters and feedback I got from students, it's something they wanted to see more of. And so what I'm doing is I'm moving around when we jump into this. I used to do it in the beginning of the semester, but I want to lay some groundwork first, and then we'll build on that to hopefully have a stronger discussion than I've had in past semesters. I will have the test loaded tomorrow. I've had some internet problems here, so for some reason my internet's been coming and going for the last couple of days. So I'm going to get that test completed. Right now I only have 16 questions up from it, so I'm going to get the rest up, and then that should be up here by tomorrow. I will extend the due date for that test out another day, so if it's up tomorrow, it'll be, you'll have another 24 hours to complete it. So I do apologize for that, but there's been some glitches of technology. I've been having some students get a hold of me and contact me about having drop boxes that aren't submitting for my classes either. So we'll get this figured out, and if you have any questions, make sure you send me an email. Thank you.